Hi Tina, thank you very much for coming on episode 2 inside Zenith Audit and how a modern firm delivers quality and efficiency.
Thanks, Zishan. Nice to see you.
You too. So we'll get straight into the questions and looking forward to having a pleasant conversation with you.
Thank you.
So for those of who don't know you, could you briefly introduce yourself and your role at Zenith Audit?
My name is Tina Paine. I'm one of the partners at Zenith Audit alongside two other partners. We're also the three directors in the company. And currently, I have taken the role of a managing director and practice assurance principal as well. In the meantime, and a lot of the time I'm also involved with client work, so I do lead a portfolio of clients, mainly in the financial services sector, investment managers, advisors, e-money, institutions, banks. So I've got a diversified portfolio of companies in the financial services sector as well.
Okay, very nice. So what does your day-to-day involvement look like across audits and client engagement?
Considering the size of the firm, I wear many hats, and so do the other two directors. So no day looks the same. Every day is different, and most of the time I'm involved with client work, but I also do a lot of practice management duties. For example, I'm also the money laundering notified officer, so I do get involved with the money laundering regulations and how that's implemented in our firm. I also participate in business development, speaking to potential clients. In the meantime, I manage my engagements with my teams. I talk to them regularly. I supervise the audit work from planning to completion, and we do come to the office a lot, so we do have a lot of interaction with the team. We are very, very close team, and we discuss a lot of things on a day-to-day basis. So it's a very much full-on day, and
Can vary every single day.
it could get quite busy. That's right. Yes, it could vary every single day. That's right.
Yeah. So Zenith is an audit-only firm. Why was the focus important when the firm was set up to not include an accounting department?
I think the main thing here is to remember is all three partners, we all have a career in audit, a long career in audit. So I think that was the main point, and that's where our expertise and experience lies in audit. And we decided to focus on audit because we wanted to focus on quality. And sometimes when we're distracted into or pulled into different directions in terms of service offerings, it's a bit more challenging to focus on audit quality. But this way we are really, we really target audit quality. We breathe audit quality in the firm. That's our main priority. In addition, it also helps with independence issues. I mean, when you think about it, we don't have some of the independence threats when it comes to auditing clients. We don't provide consulting or accounting services, for example. We don't have the self-review and management threats, and it's much easier to manage independence issues as well. So one of
Philip mentioned, and I believe you
the
also,
main points.
the partners used to work at Big Four previously. So how does the involvement differ from being at a Big Four or a large organization compared to a boutique audit practice?
I would imagine, because we have all been actually in a Big Four, and we've seen it. It's a more corporate environment. in a bigger firm, even in the top 10, depending on the size of the firms, of course. Our size is just about right at the moment to make sure that we work very efficiently, and there is a lot of communication within the team all the time, so we're very transparent. And it's a very dynamic environment as well. As I said, no day is the same. For example, if you look at my diary, I could have a catch up with a team member or audit review, then in an hour I'm preparing a tender for a client, then next I'm involved with reviewing our ISQM 1 and 2 framework, the international standards on quality management. Then I might jump into a call with a regulator.
So would you say the role is more diverse?
Another client. So it is, yes, it is varied. So the difference is we're very hands-on with our client work as a whole, and we're a very close team. We do see each other, we do talk to each other. So we do come a lot to the office as well. We go to client offices. So there is a lot of face-to-face communication between the team and between the partners.
And you mentioned consistency and quality across different audits. So is there a structure that you have that there'll always be a designated audit partner at each audit, or how do you maintain that consistency and quality?
So each partner at Zenith has got a portfolio of clients, and it really depends as to where our expertise lies. So, for example, my expertise is in the financial services sector, and I focus more or completely, entirely really on financial services clients like banks, insurance companies, investment management. The other two partners have got their other areas of expertise. So when we take on clients, we carefully assess our expertise and experience so that we can allocate a client to the right person. Having said that, the different areas, in terms of industries, sectors, types of clients, expertise, the different areas are underpinned by audit quality. So we do follow consistently the same audit quality standards. We were just reviewing our ISQM 1 and 2 framework policies, procedures. We do that annually. So we are very strict about following that. And just to give a bit more background, what that encompasses, this is around how audit engagements are managed to ensure the high quality possible, in terms of obviously taking into account proportionality, and also ensuring that we have external quality reviewers as well that are competent and independent to take a position and when they review our files. So we do follow the same audit quality standards firm-wide, which generally tend to cover culture, ethics, client take-home procedures, for example, resourcing, communication, engagement management. So we do follow a set of procedures actually. And this is communicated to the whole team. It's not just shared between the partners. We do training, and we actually do involve our staff in training and we ask them to research, prepare slides, to practice in a safe environment. We give them that opportunity to talk to us and to explain what these standards are. So we do have a training coming at the end of the month. Actually, we've got a member of staff who will be talking about quality standards to everyone.
Has there been an occasion where you've had to turn away a potential client because you felt that you might not be able to be the same level of quality when conducting the audit?
Yes, there have been instances. For example, if we do not have the right expertise and framework to do the work, then, and obviously we also look at commerciality. At the end of the day, we're running a business, we're paying salaries to staff, we're employing people. We have to assess every single aspect when we take on a client, including independence as well.
Yeah.
So there are many reasons why we might turn down a client, and obviously that's underpinned by this quality framework. For example, we've had in the past charities and academies contacting us, and we tend to refer them to other firms that have the audit methodology developed for that specific sector.
Mm-hmm.
And we tend to focus on what we do best.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
and I think that's probably the best effort spent doing that. Yeah.
So what role do professional judgment and risk-based approaches play in audit?
Significant, massive. So risk-based approach. Audit is a reasonable assurance assignment. We have to provide an opinion on the financial statements of a specific client, and it is based on risks, assessment of risks for the business, for the entity, and at the same time professional judgment. We use professional judgment to tailor our procedures, to design them around the risks that we need to address. So they're two very, very very important concepts in audit terminology.
Audit is often misunderstood. So what does an efficient audit really mean? Is it the speed that it's conducted in? Is it information that's readily available? What would you define as an efficient audit?
So efficiency in audit is not about doing light amount of work. Is about having a more targeted approach, because as I said, audit is very much risk-based, and efficiency is a lot about targeting the risks that you need to consider and tailoring your approach, but also having a good plan when doing that. That's why audit planning is very, very important, because it is only then when we can generate the most efficiencies. It's how you plan your work, it's how you agree the timetable with the client, it's how you communicate with them, and how you design the work to be able to generate the most efficiencies, but at the same time carrying the right size work for the type of industry, client, business model, for the type of risks that rest with the business of the client.
So what kind of systems, planning and preparation for Zenith and for the client side make the biggest difference to audit timelines? Are there certain things that you look out for, or you'd advise the clients to implement throughout the year to make the whole process smoother?
So is this question more to do with what we do at the planning or what we recommend, just to clarify?
Yeah, just to kind of make the whole process smoother, whether they use an accounting software particular, or what other systems should they have to make everything smoother?
Right. So for a client to prepare for an audit, we generally tend to engage with them very much early on in the process. As I said, planning is a very pivotal point, and if it's done properly, it it helps audit quality and it helps efficiency as well at the same time. So we make sure that we are transparent and open. We have a good communication at all points. We have check-ins with them. We visit their offices. We have Teams calls set up, and it's really about early engagement. So, for example, if the year end is, let's say, December, we don't have to start in January or March. Whenever the accounts are closed, we usually tend to start much early, let's say September, October. We take some interim results so that we understand how the business has changed over the past year. We do have initial conversations so that we know where to focus our effort. We do talk to them a lot to make sure that audit also doesn't cause disruption to the normal operations of the business, because management and directors, they do run a business, and their priorities are their top line, are they making profits, they've got different priorities. And when we come in as an audit, which is more of a compliance exercise that some companies need to do, it could feel as if it's somewhat a burden, additional burden on the operations of the company. So as I said, open communication is always a key, and listening to management, listening to the business owners, listening to understand their business dynamics, to understand their challenges, to understand their availability in terms of, when would be the best time for audit, what are their deadlines, what are their priorities. So I think these are the main points, I believe.
And does your approach change depending on the size of the firm, or is everything streamlined?
The audit approach would always change depending on the size of the firm that we audit, and obviously the industry, the business model, the risks involved as well. There is no one model shape audit model. It really depends on the risks associated with the entity. The bigger the entity, obviously the more mature, we can see more complex risks emerging. For example, we could have a bigger, more mature business with a portfolio of loans, for example. So, and especially if they report under IFRS, then we would have to look at expected credit loss provision, which might require a model to be used, to be calculated, and there are instances where we would have to involve an external expert, a valuations expert, with whom we can work with to be able to audit the provisions for that portfolio. And there's some small businesses, they're like startups or just about scaling up businesses, that with them a risk might be, for example, going concern, funding, generating enough cash flow to be able to continue investing, and we have to look at other areas, for example, with smaller firms. So as I said, repeated many times, audit is risk-based exercise, so we would have to target our effort in different areas depending on the maturity of the business, the size, the industry.
Audit firms tend to help clients strengthen internal controls without crossing independence lines. How does Zenith help clients strengthen these controls?
So helping and adding value to the client's business it's not really an independence issue. I mean, we can always add value without impairing other independence, and obviously we can still be seen as being independent. It is a standard procedure for us in the course of our work, because when we start doing an audit, we look at a lot of things in the business within a short amount of time, and we can notice a lot of things, and we have a very good kind of position to be able to recommend, to notice some deficiencies, for example, if there are any, and then make recommendations. So in the course of our work, we tend to do that. And we generally, when we see, for example, some gap in certain procedures or policies, we tend to communicate these with management and produce a management letter, which is discussed with management, presented to management and the audit committee, depending on the size of the client. There are areas where in the course of our work we can see things, and we can make lots of recommendations.
Are there any particular areas you see that are kind of universal to most of your clients, that everyone kind of has this particular gap in the business and we always give this recommendation?
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed again, it's I think it is more to do with the maturity of the business. Usually when you have a startup, they still have maturing policies and procedures. They're in the process of improving their policies and procedures framework. So we would expect a lot of deficiencies and gaps in this kind of areas. With more mature or scaled up businesses, we tend to see probably more evidence of lack of duty segregation, and for a lot of businesses there are duty segregation. However, there is not necessarily evidence that there is a maker and checker, for example. So we have seen this a lot in the past, generally, including lack of audit trails, for example. So when I always tell my staff when they look at any deficiencies, is actually to think about how is the audit process going, or how did it go. If we have had any challenges as auditors to review something, to audit something, that would possibly be a deficiency and recommendation.
For those who might not know, what is segregation of duties?
Segregation of duties, it is different functions that do specific tasks, and for example, let's say we've got someone that authorizes payments, someone who makes payments, and someone who reconciles the bank. If we have one person who is involved with authorizing the payment, making the payment, and reconciling the bank, then there is a lack of segregation of duties. In very small businesses, it is not unusual to have one person doing those things. However, in more mature businesses, in bigger businesses, we would expect more established controls and documented controls. So if we audit, let's say, a bigger a bank or an insurance company, we would expect that there would be very well defined duty segregation as well as documentation to show that there is a person who specifically authorizes, makes the payment, and does the bank reconciliation.
Yeah. And what is audit trail?
Audit trail is the simplest way to look at that is, for example, we receive a nominal ledger in a TB, and then we receive a set of financial statements. So an audit trail would be, for example, some kind of documentation or mapping where we can see how the general ledger balances are mapped and form part of these financial statements. So that is just a simple example of one type of audit trail. That's where it is easy to follow records, numbers within books and records to ultimately the financial statements, which are the ones on which we provide an opinion.
So would it be that if
I
revenue
hope
is
that
mentioned,
explains.
if revenue says 20 million, you click on revenue and it kind of gives you the breakdown of how that 20 million is derived, right?
That's right, yes. So we have revenue, there are different types of revenues, and as an auditor, we tend to look at the TB obviously, and when we design our procedures, we tend to look at the granular within the trial balance to understand what that is made up of, and then we tend to focus within each different revenue stream. Considering revenue is also generally default risk for us, we tend to look at revenue very closely, and a lot of our effort goes into the revenue balances. So yes, making sure that these balances are mapped to the financial statements, but they can also be mapped to some underlying records, and there is an audit trail, a reference or something where we can identify where these numbers come from.
Can you talk about the management letter and how that helps businesses beyond an audit opinion itself?
So with management letter, as I mentioned earlier, this is something that is very standard for auditors, and it's something that we use and we want to use to add value to our clients, because as I said, we see a lot of things when we do our audits on a granular level as well, and with regards to processes, controls. Generally, when we do our planning, we tend to do a lot of understanding of the business and to meet the requirements of ISO 315. We at the risk assessment point, we tend to do a lot of walkthroughs to be able to understand the processes, the procedures, the controls, and to tailor our procedures. And within the course of our work, we tend to find, when we find certain deficiencies, we use the management letter to incorporate them there, and then it kind of gives us like a formal, nice document to communicate our points to management. And because they're formalized, documented, agreed, they can be followed. Generally, we tend to have a column where management can include their comments as to how they're going to action these points, and we encourage that. And this letter is then reviewed at audit committees, board meetings, to ensure that there is a progress on the raised points, and some positive changes are happening accordingly in the company.
Wow. What should organizers look for when choosing an audit firm, in your opinion?
Interesting question. So I usually tend to say trust. When we look to work with someone, we want to trust them, and we want to trust them that they will take us through difficulties. You know, you don't just want to be there having a nice time and when everything is easy. So trust is a very important element in the auditor-client relationship. For me, it's probably one of the most important things is you should be able to trust and work as one team to get through the challenges together. While we obviously still independent as auditors, we can work with the client and collaborate with them to make the audit process lighter in terms of listening to their concerns and understanding their priorities and ensuring that the process runs as smooth as possible. Of course, there will always be challenges, and that's why you want to get someone you trust, that they will be committed and determined to take you through them.
Yeah, of course. And what makes a client-auditor relationship work well long term?
I would say probably, again, trust and going through difficulties together, and obviously having had that experience of, yes, we've been there and this is what we've achieved together. And this is how we've added value to the business, and how we've helped the client in the course of the work. In addition to that, I think communication and transparency is very important, being honest and being upfront from the start with the client, raising your concerns, be brave to discuss difficult issues with them. And because there will be times when it will be painful,
Of course.
but getting through that pain together, I think working together as a team.
And finally, how can people get in touch with Zenith if they want to understand whether your approach is right for them?
In this day of technology, very easy, just get in touch through our website or LinkedIn. We are very easy to get hold of generally, and we are quite flexible and agile to take a call straight away or the following day. So I think just a quick 15-20 minute chat even can tell us a lot about each other.
Tina, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to speak to you, and all the best.
Thank you very much, Zishan. Thank you. Have a good day.